Hello, Christian. Today's topic a little bit different because I want to share with some my observations with you and hear your opinion and maybe some ideas how the industry as a whole can manage it. It's about competencies. It's about competencies of board members, people who decide, decision makers. I'm sure the industry is full of very brilliant people, but there is some mindset up which I observe, which may be very interesting to discuss where it can go and how it can change. So my idea is that most of the board members are in logistic companies, in postal companies, in courier companies are from operation origins or from finance origins. There are two different mind setups, but a little bit old-fashioned. So operations, which is the key for the company, and of course, but it's always focus on the standardization, conservative approach to the changes means that if you do it in standard way, you do it lean way, you save the cost. From the finance point of view, which is also very important, you also think about the profitability, cost cutting, and efficiency of the current business. What is usually put outside of the minds of the first people in the companies is how the industry will change, how AI will change the industry. Uh, it's mostly pushed into the IT basket, technology basket, industrial engineering, not into the real face of how we face the future. This is my usually challenge to first discuss with board members how the future will be.
Mm.
Do we prepare for the past, which is of course optimization, lean management, etc., or we prepare for the future, which is huge change in the way how the business will work? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question and a very good remark. I think that there is a difference when you look at the carriers and if you look at the big competitors in this business. If you look at the big Chinese companies coming into Europe, you look into the way that we have Amazon, we have FedEx, UPS also looking into it with a little bit different mindset. I would say you are right. A very traditional business which is hard to operate. Putting parcels from A to B is not that simple as many things, but and that means also that EBIT lines usually are quite small, and that means also that you fall back to standardization, you fall back to financial control, all these things which are the old classical tools. But if you see what's actually happening in the industry from the big players, is that we are moving from execution to orchestration. And what do we mean when we talk about orchestration? We mean that you need to have a whole chain to be intact. You need to make sure that everything is moving in a completely different path, that you just execute on what you're responsible for from every process step to process step. And I think that we are in for a huge transformation when we see how things are operating. If you look at to the discussions that's happening in Tesla wants to run taxis, Uber wants to run taxes. One of them wants to, like Uber wants to, they want to have, I think they signed up contracts now with 12 different players in order to make sure that they have a platform that they can orchestrate. If you look at what Tesla is doing, they're trying to make a vertical where they control the whole process vertically and going from with their software into their vehicles and thereby going that way. But it all talks about that it's going to be an orchestration in the future. So I think that there is a need to have a different view on how you want to receive the future coming ahead. I think that your observation is very right, that we need to make sure that you also have a different mindset in the future in order if you want to compete. Even though your role can be quite small and you don't have the possibility to orchestrate the supply chain from one end to another, you have to orchestrate your own process responsibility and try to make sure how can you tie in to what's happening with the knowledge that's coming from your customers and to your end receivers. And I think that that is it's a much more holistic, much more dynamic world where we're going to see that AI it's going to be an analytic world in order to make sure that these things can be orchestrated as such. And I think that we see even on the lower level when it comes to we are trying to do one of these smart terminals. It is also going to change the mindset of execution. We have always tried to help with AI, help the employees, making sure that they have the right information so they can handle. We are making sure that the management have the right information so they can lead, and then we make sure also that we have the analytical layer that is going to be the future one. These are the ones who's going to figure out how we're going to execute in the future. It's not going to come from the operational floor. It's going to come from the analytics side. So this is my take on it.
I'm wondering what the current board members can do to enhance the ability to see the future in this area. And I understand analytics, data, absolutely yes. And all this analytics data is nothing new. It's 20 years of analytics data calculations. Of course, years ago it was more manual, more Excel based or long time analytics. Now it can be faster. Now it can be easier to build different dashboards and understanding the situation faster. But it's also this mindset, what they can do to change their minds or to first understand they need it, then maybe not change but adopt to the situation, because they, of course, they know companies, they run big businesses, they know how to do it, they know how to run, how to be leader in this organization, but they need to some push into the future. So maybe it's about having around people who are able to support them to understand that if I know everything about logistics, it doesn't mean that I'm really ready to run this company for the next 10 years. I need someone who will support me now to push me in the to the future.
Yeah, and I think also it is not just to push, it's also, I think it's your own responsibility, isn't it? To always seek information from whom you can learn from. And I think that we tend to be very following the same business line, but I think that this is where there is a good opportunity to learn from other business line. Find a partner who actually can help you train also as a what does this mean for me in the future. And I think that if you look into some of the companies that actually have understood the disruption, we have a lot of these companies who are now in the last, startup companies that last 8-10 years have transformed completely from being a startup to become a billion-dollar business. I think there is a lot of learnings we can take from these and look into how the way that they have executed and how they are executing. And I think that is also something that I think that that you can pull some. The responsibility is that you also have to pull the information yourself. You have to take a responsibility of being adopted into this by yourself.
So standard good benchmarking, but we focus not on the biggest companies, which very often I saw in the consulting industry, that
Mm.
clients want to see what the bigger companies on the world uh, do, but we've also focused with change makers, which will also focus on disruption companies. And we have, you're absolutely right. I do not want to promote anybody, but I see even large companies at the moment which experiment with AI, with different ways how to do business. And absolutely, there are some benchmarks you can look for.
Yeah, it's a mindset you have to benchmark and look for more than you look for a structure as such. You need to figure out, how do I use this? How do I use these technologies, and where should I put my money for the future? And also finding the right inspiration, as you said very clearly.
So what I would summarize it, first inspiration, then look also on the peers which are not very which are not as big as you, but they maybe move much faster than you. Have advisors, and have people or all people from the organization around you who understand this environment and who can support you to push company in the future. That's my summary.